Morning, church. How are y'all? Good to see you. Good to see each and every one of you. We've got a good crowd this morning. It's good to have Jonathan and Paige back. We know they had a great time, and we'll be looking forward to hearing some of those stories. Also, Charla spent time up in Nashville with a friend. That's what our lives all about. Church family, friends that we can visit with. Speaking of visitors, we do have several visitors with us today, and we appreciate you being here. We've got the Crosses and the Miners with us, and they're in the back, so let's make sure everybody gets to meet them before we leave. As Jake mentioned, we do have a youth rally here this next Saturday, youth event, not only for youth, adults too. Can show up. We'll probably be needing some help. We're going to be feeding the crew that shows up, so if you can make it, that would be good. The speaker for that event, Joyce and my son, Derek, who's preacher at this time down at Aberdeen. He was with the Amory Church of Christ for 15 years until going to Aberdeen. Joyce and I couldn't be more proud of Derek. Even at a young age, and I think I remember sharing this with you, Derek was probably about 14 or 15 years old. We had a cancer scare with him. He was playing ball, hurt his leg. They took some x-rays, and they found a mass in his leg. So we went through a period of time there thinking that might be cancer. And during that time, of course, Joyce and I, besides ourselves, and Derek said, "Dad, what's the worst that could happen? The worst in your mind that could happen is that I die and I go to heaven. What's so bad about that?" And I said, "Nothing, son, nothing at all. That'll be fine." Folks, I haven't, in my lifetime, I don't think I've achieved that quite matureness yet. You know, some folks, some dads are happy and glad that their sons follow in their footsteps. Folks, I'm happy that I can follow in my son's footsteps. He's been an encouragement and an example to me all of his life, and I thank him. And so anyway, he'll be here this Saturday, and so I'd like for all of you to get to meet him, and we can enjoy that youth rally together. I know many of you are animal lovers, all right? I'm sure most of you have some pets, and these pets most probably have become part of your family. Now, Joyce and I had a little toy poodle called Libby, and I've shared with you a couple of stories about Libby, but Libby lived for 16 years. She was the runt of that litter that we got to choose, okay? She was a little ball of fur about the size of a mouse, okay? I remember she would fit down in my shirt pocket. And yes, Libby became part of our family. She had a fantastic personality. She even had her own jewelry, all right? Her own clothes. And she knew when Joyce went to the jewelry box, she knew when Joyce pulled out her jewelry, okay? When we was taking pictures there in Greenwood for the church directory, Libby went with us. And we had her all dressed up, and Joyce held her right there as they had our picture taken there. And Libby traveled everywhere we went. She could draw a crowd anywhere we went. She had just as many frequent flyer miles with Delta as we had. She'd fly with us. We had to buy her a ticket, and she had in a little carry case right underneath our feet. At home, when we got our big Catahoula cur, 50-pound dog, Libby very quickly put that Catahoula cur in her place. The Catahoula cur could only come in certain parts of the den and kitchen. And as long as socks remained in that part, there was no problem. But that little 4-pound dog got her bluff in on that Catahoula Cur. When we traveled, she traveled with us on a little pillow right under my left arm right there, or either over on Joyce's legs. Libby had her own pet stroller that we could put her in, and she'd go everywhere with us. Over the years, Libby suffered with several medical issues. We hadn't had her a month or two, I guess, when I forgot that we even had a dog, all right? I was laying back in my recliner, and I came down like a big guy usually does, boom, boom, put this, Libby was up under there, all right? She was crawling under the front. I didn't know she was there. I thought I'd killed her. And so she come out, and she was wobbling like that, and everything, so we had to take her to the vet, and thank goodness nothing was wrong. But she suffered through a broken leg and a disease called Cushing's disease, which was a breakdown of muscle mass. And she went through 2 cancer scares as well, collapsing trachea, a couple of hernias. Libby even had her own case study done there at Mississippi State, published in a national magazine because of the Cushing's. We spent many days there at Mississippi State, spent many thousands of dollars too, I remember that. But you see, Libby was part of the family, all right? If you got somebody part of the family, you're going to do what it takes to make sure she's all right. Well, after 16 years, we came face to face with having to euthanize Libby. And that was a very, very emotional time. We've had to consider let's say it's called taking them off of life support if we're dealing with an individual, and Joyce and I have had to deal with that a couple of times with members of our family. And it was no less traumatic having to deal with that with Libby as well. And to say we loved Libby, okay, would be an understatement. Libby was our child there for 16 years, just about as long as we have our children, as a matter of fact, before they move out. And we would have done anything, and did do everything that we could for her. Now, with that introduction, I hope I have tried to lay the foundation, all right, for how deeply we cared for this little puppy dog. So, one day I was outside, Libby was running around, and it came time for us to go back in. And I stooped down and reached to pick up Libby. And when I did, I lost my balance, or somehow I fell. Libby fell out of my hands. Now you keep in mind she's 4 pounds, all right, and I landed on her, all right. And she squealed and everything, and then as I got up, I tried to kind of pick her up, but she was over on her back. Her legs were sticking up, and they were kind of shaking, like that. And she was groaning. And I rolled her over, and her whole rear just kind of folded under her, all right, legs and all. She couldn't stand, she couldn't walk, she was moaning. And I was devastated. I was devastated. This was my fault, all right. My fall, my clumsiness, or whatever it was, had harmed my child. My weight, some 50 times hers, had landed on her, and obviously I thought had broken something, probably her back. Now remember, this little old thing's already had Cushing's, 2 hernias, broken leg, collapsing trachea, and here I've broken my pup's back. So we take her to Mississippi State. The ride was almost 4 hours over there, and there she was, just hurting. And all I could think about was, I was the one who caused this. I was the one who caused this little 4-pound pup to be experiencing all of this pain that she's experiencing. Every now and then I'd look over there at her and she'd look up at me, like, why did you hurt me? Why did you hurt me? And in my mind, all I could hear was, if you'll remember, old Fred Sanford and Son, old Fred saying, "You big dummy. You big dummy." And here it was. It was my fault. She stayed there at Mississippi State for a while, and we found out that she was in trauma. Part of things was paralyzed and everything, but over the next few days, everything worked out. I had hurt something that I loved, and I was emotionally distraught over that. Now, I want you to think about something this morning. In our relationships with our family, our personal family, our spiritual family, our community family, in any of those relationships, have you hurt someone? Have you hurt someone? Maybe it was an accident. You couldn't help it. But you did it. You caused it. And now someone is hurt. We all know one of our family members going through this right now. The troubled feelings, the sorrow, the remorse, the guilt. It's all heaped upon you. And the grief at times can be overbearing. Overbearing. Why? Because this is your fault. This is your fault. I've thought about these incidents before. We're on an emotional roller coaster. Oh, I hope they get all right. Oh my, this was my fault. What am I going to do? I feel so bad. If I hadn't have done this, this person wouldn't be hurting. With Libby, I don't know that I could have hurt any more. Even if it had been a human being, rather than a little pup. Think about it. Have you ever hurt anyone? Have you ever hurt anyone you loved? Physically? Emotionally? Was it on purpose? Out of spite? Out of jealousy? Out of anger? Have you ever wished for something bad to happen to somebody? Have you ever capitalized on someone's hurt or emotions for your own benefit? Do you have any ulterior motives behind whatever you do? I'm not proud of it, but I'll admit I have hurt people I love. No, I didn't take a lug wrench and hit them upside the head or anything like that. But words and actions and tones can pierce our hearts deeper than swords. Whoever came up with that little old saying, sticks and stones can hurt my bones, but words will never harm me. That guy was dumb. Dumb. We can be hurt more by words. By words. I count my blessings that God gave me, my wife Joyce, for more than one reason, but she helps keep me on track. She can tell when something's wrong. She can tell by my actions, by my tone, by my look, by everything. And she's never been afraid to handle tough situations. She's not afraid to tell it like it is. I bought her a bumper sticker one time, put it on her car. It said, "Be warned, this isn't an ordinary housewife you're dealing with." And I'm sure I already know several ladies. If I could find that bumper sticker again, there's about 12 ladies in this congregation that I could slap that sticker on, okay? But sometimes after work, I'd get home and I'd slam the door, kick the cat, go in the house, and not speak to anybody, and Joyce come in there and say, "What's wrong with you?" "Nothing." She said, "Get yourself right back up and you walk right back outside." Now, folks, this has actually happened. You walk right on back outside. I said, "What?" She said, "You're going to start over. I don't know about you, but something is wrong, and you're going to leave it outside. You're not going to bring it in here to the house." And so she ushers me back outside. And she said, "Now, when you're ready to come in, you just ring the door, ring the doorbell, and I'll let you in. And let's start over." So, very humbly now, I ring the doorbell. She opens it. She says, Hey there, babe. How you doing?" "I'm doing fine." So we start over, you see. Because over the years, we have found, and I've found, and you have found, if you don't correct something, it's just going to get worse. It's going to fester. It's going to get into something bigger. Even small things in our relationships, if we're not careful, can explode into something that is terrible. And many times we can't take care of it as easily as we could have if we had addressed it earlier. Our attitudes cause a lot of things. Many times hurt to the ones we love. And I know many times we probably don't mean to. But these things do cause problems for a lot of people. And we have to learn how to deal with other people's emotions. Some people can take things and some people can't. All right. In our maturity, we have to learn these things. It will be our individual actions, okay? Individual actions, either on purpose or by accident, that will lead to hurt someone we love. We'll do it. Now, why do we do this? We all have different reasons. Hopefully, though, these are really, really, really long in between, okay? We should strive never to hurt the person we love, never to hurt anyone, really. But it's usually, our stubbornness, our pride, our macho attitude, us men, it will prevail and lead us down this path. And we'll get more upset as time goes on about something, and then we'll lash out. Folks, we have to recognize when we're on this highway, so to speak. We have to recognize when we see and feel ourselves going down this path that can only culminate in a problem for our family, whether it's spiritually or physically or emotionally. We know when we're headed down the wrong path. Why don't we recognize it sooner and stop and not have to deal with this problem that's going to happen? We have to be what some folks call proactive about it. Not reactive with something, but proactive. And these episodes usually add up over time. And it will have and can have a devastating effect on our entire family and our relationships with others. We have to guard our relationships with each other and make sure we don't give the devil, Satan, any chance to get in between, you see. Because that devil is out there trying to break up our families, our relationships with each other. And if he can break up the families, then he will succeed in breaking up our church family. And see, that's the whole deal within the whole nation. Our families break apart. And as our families go, so goes the nation, and so goes the church. As always, I believe we can look to Scripture for assistance in maintaining those proper attitudes and atmosphere within our families, our lifestyles, and we can decrease our chances of getting into these situations if we're willing to listen to God. We can't take this lightly, all right? 2 Peter 1, verse 3 there, says, seeing that his divine power has granted to us everything pertaining to life and godliness through the true knowledge of him who called us by his own glory and excellence. For by these he has granted to us his precious and magnificent promises, in order that by them you might become partakers of the divine nature. God has given us what it's going to take for us to think about and be on the divine level. All right? The divine level. We can move from this carnal level that so many of us are on. We can move to the divine level. All right? And in that particular level, we will be less we will not do these things as easily, these things that we're talking about this morning about not doing. It will be harder for us to make these mistakes if we're thinking on the divine level rather than the carnal level. That's where God wants us, okay? 2 Corinthians 9:8 says, and God is able to make all grace abound to you, that always, having all sufficiency in everything, you may have an abundance for every good deed. God gives us these things that we need. Get on the divine level. Strive for these things that make it good. That's what I want for you. And in Philippians 4:19 says, and my God shall supply your needs according to his riches. All of the needs that we have, God will supply it. 1 Corinthians 13 talks about love. We've studied that over and over, of course. 1 Corinthians 13:4. Love is patient, love is kind, and is not jealous. Love does not brag and is not arrogant. Does not act unbecomingly or rude. It does not seek its own, is not provoked, does not take into account a wrong suffered. You see, if you think about it, something other than love causes us to act improperly or rude. How many misunderstandings or fights have been caused by rudeness or by someone seeking their own or being provoked or really wanting to respond in kind to a wrong? See, that's not love, Paul tells us, when we want to do these things. We need to be conscious of our actions. Ephesians 4:29. Ephesians 4:29. Let no unwholesome word proceed from your mouth, but only such a word as is good for edification, according to the need of the moment, that it may give grace to those who hear. Oh my goodness gracious. Boy. Fantastic advice here. Husbands and wives, let's turn to Ephesians 5. 5:25. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Guys, that means we are to have that sacrificial love for our spouses. Do you have that type of love? Because if you do, it will stop a lot of these problems that we may have. Verse 28 there, husbands ought also to love their own wives as their own bodies. Wow. He who loves his own wife loves himself. Go to 1 Peter 3:7. You husbands likewise live with your wives in an understanding way, as with a weaker vessel, since she is a woman, and grant her honor as a fellow heir of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. Now, guys, I don't think we think about this very often. And I might have mentioned it one other time before since I've been here. This is this is something that we don't think about. The way you treat your spouse will either connect or unconnect your direct route to God. If you mistreat your spouse, God's not going to hear your prayer. Your prayers will be hindered. Think about that. We're always concerned about being in the right relationship with God. How many times have you ever thought about you will disconnect yourself from God the way you treat your wife? We've got to think about that more often than we do, because we will control what happens within our families. It's up to us. And of course, the wives, back in Ephesians 5, be subject to our husbands as to the Lord. And wives, respect our husbands. Children, Ephesians 6, obey your parents. Fathers, provoke not your children to wrath. And one thing we've got to think about, Ephesians 4:26. Ephesians 4:26. If you don't hear anything else today, hear this. Be angry, and yet do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. Folks, I can tell you it will not get any better in the morning. If you don't handle it immediately, if you don't handle it before you go to bed, it's going to get worse. And I dare say everybody in here knows exactly what I'm talking about. Guys, we've been there. We go to bed, and what happens? Here it is, back to back. Do we say good night? No, I wouldn't dare say good night. I'm waiting for her to say good night first. If she don't tell me good night, I'm not going to say good night. And so here we are. Well, I wish she'd hurry up. I wish she'd hurry up. But I'm not. I am not. It is her fault. She shouldn't have done it. I am not giving in. There we go. All right. We do go to sleep. We wake up the next morning. I am not going to say good morning. I am not. And so here we go. Here we go. It goes from bad to worse. And you know I'm telling the truth here. We've got to take care of that before it gets started. And the last one, Matthew 22, 36. 22, 36. Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law? And he said to him, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. You want to get everything right? Love God. Love God. Love your wife. Love your husband. Take care of your children. Love your brothers and sisters. Treat them right. Too often, Satan wants to control us. And I plead with you this morning, do not allow him to do that. If for any reason we can help you this morning, if you need to be baptized, repent, be baptized, be added to the Lord's church, we'll be glad to assist you. If you need to get back on the right track, we'll be glad to assist you there as well. If for any reason we can help you, let it be made known now while we stand and sing.